it's Drybear. And we have just 2 days to go for the May 22nd update. So like actually kind of like a day and a half, really. It's going to be overnight that update will take place. So that is coming along. We've got a bunch of new stuff coming into the game, but one thing I want to focus on today is around the weapon core system, and more specifically, a combination addition they're adding to the game. Just a reminder, the time is running out for the Ingris Guardian Blair Challenge and the weekly fire support, and we are running out of time for the Beyond Sigma Sector login as well. So just make sure you're keeping track of these, as you will definitely get some nice rewards by completing them. But back to Descendant real quick. When the weapon core system came out, we had some interesting options for combining. Obviously, you can equip cores and you can craft cores. They have the ability to auto craft lower stages as well, which means that, you know, it's pretty much every like Korean RPG has like a combine 3 to get one of a higher tier system, and that's what we have here. Whereas you take 3 of these and you put them together and you make you make more of them going up that way, so you can actually combine all these up together to eventually get the top level of the 10 core. However, what they're bringing to us soon is an ability to sacrifice unwanted cores, and most specifically, people tend to not like having the purple core on a weapon. And honestly, I have so many gripes around the way the weapon core system was implemented. Essentially just took all the existing stats on the weapons that we have in game and just scaled them up. This broke a ton of stuff, not to mention the impact it had on the balance of the game, but also tons of weapons just broke. They had to quickly rush in a limit on the fire rate for weapons because that was breaking and causing desync issues and all of that. But there's also just some like balance issues around how the devs kind of arbitrarily chose which cores apply to which weapons, and some weapons, you know, were not made equal in that front. Even weapons like Excava, which previously was only a seasonal weapon, because of the different core slots that it had on the weapon, ended up bringing it into viability just because it has a better selection of cores. And more specifically, the purple core is one that people generally don't want to have on their gear, and generally doesn't get used at all. So people just have a lot of purple cores stacked up and laying around. And that's because the purple category, for whatever reason, the game designers sat down and said, you know what, this is a category that people want. This is what the people need. They want a category that is only a Legion specific damage bonus on firearm attack. It just ended up like, there are some builds, obviously, like if you know you're going into a specific location and you know you're facing a specific legion, like a specific Vulgus faction, you know you can stack this up, which is good for things like Void Erosion Purge 30 or even Void Vessel, where you can like predetermine ahead of time, know that you're going to be facing a specific faction. However, it's kind of weird they didn't put other options in here in this category, and generally weapons that have the purple category, people tend to just throw this away. So what's great, now this is the mock-up that was shown on the upcoming system, which allows you to convert cores. And there's already been some feedback on this specifically. You obviously would go to Descendant like we have been so far, and you'll be able to convert other cores at a 1-to-3 ratio into a different core type. So you'll notice here, as is selected, they have selected 100 of these cores and 50 of these cores to create 50 of the other core, which means it's a 3-to-1. So each conversion consumes 3 material cores to create 1 of the good core, of the core you're looking for. So you could presumably, you know, add in like 30 purple cores, and that would give you 10 of the core you're looking for at a 1-to-3 conversion rate. And we already have the ability to scale cores up by leveling them up using lower level 1-to-3, and then they're going to be giving us a way to convert unwanted cores into others. And I think this is nice because it is a little bit of a bad luck protection, because it means that no matter what core drops, you will be able to recycle them into different cores that you normally would want. Yellow being one of the most popular because it has sprint speed and the grapple timer, and a lot of people use, even on weapons they're just using as a stat stick, like the Peacekeeper or the Peacemaker, for example. You would then just want the highest, really only yellow cores matter to you. You run yellow cores on it. You also run yellow cores in the multicolor as well. Maybe you're doing fire rate, you're stacking a whole bunch of fire rate on a weapon to cap it out, or that sort of thing. So it does give you that kind of combination there. Honestly, since they just nerfed the Void Erosion Purge, I feel like the Void Erosion Purge is easy enough now where it's very easy to farm and kind of keep up with. You can do it with skill Descendants, you can do it with weapon Descendants, you can even do it in groups, and there's a lot of people that are just queuing, you know, blindly into matchmaking for Void Erosion Purge 30. And then we're also getting this inspect thing as well. So maybe as people start to to farm Void Erosion Purge. If the inspect feature ends up being a positive boon for the game, then obviously people can go into a queue that they don't have a build for. Then they can see a bunch of Serenas with Malevolence coming in, and then they can inspect them, figure out what they're doing wrong, and then make a build that matters, and then they can be the strong Serena that clears all the content very quickly, which I think would be kind of a good option to add to the game overall. And honestly, there's also been a lot of drama around the inspect system right now. We talked about this yesterday, just how some people really like the idea of the inspect system, being able to get builds from other people and being able to, you know, get inspired, which honestly kind of feels like the core of TFD. A lot of people do that anyways. They share their builds online on forums and messaging boards, or with their friends, or, you know, in content spaces like on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and, you know, primarily YouTube as well, or live streams. There's plenty of people that just live stream them making builds and things like that. So I think that's kind of been the core of TFD, and hopefully it ends up teaching the people that are brand new to TFD that just don't know all the weird ins and outs of, like, yeah, you know, never do this because it's kind of useless, or, you know, that system doesn't work, or the age old, the classic, the El Clasico doesn't get any more classic than this. The person that just started TFD and they go up to a they go up to a TFT veteran and they're like, hey, I can't seem to get my weapons sheet DPS to be really high. How come I can't get it higher? And then the veteran has to pat them on the head and say, there. Just pretend the sheet DPS on the weapon doesn't exist because it's meaningless. It doesn't work anyways. Just put the right mods on. Don't look at the sheet DPS. It's not real. It can't hurt you. Next, I kind of want to talk about the future and upcoming choices for TFD in general. I think one of the great examples that people use all the time is that, you know, when Warframe started over a decade ago, they did not have the level of content or the breadth that they have now, or even, you know, 5 years ago, for example. So there's kind of this question of, like, you know, a lot of the TFD believers will say that TFD will continue to add until eventually they have that, like, event horizon where you cross it and you have so many things to do in the game, so many characters, so many activities, that it's really great to get into. And I think that there's a separation right now between the people that kind of casually dabble in TFD, the people that haven't yet played TFD, and then, you know, the people like myself that have been playing since launch that have been keeping up with everything. And there's this question of, like, can they actually manage to keep the veteran players engaged? Because realistically, if you have done everything in the game, unlocked all of the weapons, you're at Mastery 29, you have all the characters, you have builds for everything, you're really just kind of like coming back for each patch, gobbling up whatever new system they have, and then farming the same thing every day over and over until the new content comes out. So obviously, like, if you were to start TFD fresh today, you would probably get a good 800 to 1200 hours of grinding and farming and unlocking and improving and exploring and all that stuff. And I honestly can't imagine, you know, finishing the campaign, getting into Albion, and then like unlocking hard mode. Then all of a sudden I see that there's also Void Vessels and Void Erosion Purge and Abyss bosses and Sigma Sector and Axion Plains and all these other things to do. So the question becomes then, like, you know, is it possible to even keep both groups happy, or are the veteran players just going to constantly have to decide whether they want to play the new patch, log off after a couple weeks, and then just kind of do dailies and maintenance, and then come back when there's new stuff to do and just play other games in the meantime? And I leave it up to you guys as well. Are you people that play, are you playing TFD every single day? And if so, how long have you been playing, and what's your experience with unlocking the new content and new aspects of the game? There's also going to be a question of, like, as the future goes on and we get new features added, as we know there are more coming with Season 3, is it going to be a content game, or do we need a customization change, or do we need more power added to the game? Personally, from my perspective, I actually think that we're kind of fine on a power front. Like, I'm not like desperately wanting more power for the Descendants. What I would like is for all the major gaps in, like, build making in this game to be cleared up. I think that would be way more valuable than just adding more power. Like, I don't need my Serena to be stronger. I don't need my Inez to be stronger. I would very much like it so that when I have an ability that has like a 120-second cooldown, I would like to be able to make that ability my main ability. Like, I would love it if you could run like an ultimate Freyna or an ultimate Valby with the unique weapon as the primary thing that you do. But you just can't really get cooldowns that low because of the restrictions that you have. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about my gripes with the stat options that come with external components and how, because they're so heavily restricted on what stats show up on external components, it ends up feeling like most builds end up being either the exact same stats on your components, or they end up being very, very similar because you can only get a list of like 4 or 5 different stats on each component slot. And even then, they don't have everything. Like, you can't get cooldown reduction, you can't get skill power, you can't get move speed, you can't get any of these things on the passive stats on external components. You just get like minor, like, hey, you get a little bit of resistance, or you get a little bit of this. And most people just go for a max HP or max shield, depending on your build. And then you run with just getting MP recovery, and that's pretty much it. Mainly just because the resistances are pretty bad and mostly useless in this game. You do get a lot of value from getting like HP recovery in some cases. Max HP goes a long way as well, unless you're doing a no HP build with overwhelming HP or whatever it is called. So you have that as an option as well. But I would love to be able to like kind of solve some of the core gaps in build styles for Descendants to open up more opportunities as well. It's also worth mentioning that the community is just constantly divided on what they want. And it also feels like there's little like castes or cliques that are forming in the TFD community. There are people that kind of use TFD as a high fidelity graphical game that show relatable humanoid characters that they can that they can dress up and show in different forms and kind of express themselves and get to know those characters. And also goes along with the lounge that we're getting, which is essentially like a like little dating apartment that we can get for our Descendants. So there are people that just like how good the game looks and how relatable the character, like they're obviously human. You're not looking at some twisted up, like Lord of Chaos cinched distortion that doesn't look like a person at all. It definitely is a character person that you like might know in real life, that sort of thing, which is cool. Then there's people that play TFD for the gameplay alone. They want to get the best clear time, they want to get on the leaderboards, they want to make the best builds for every character, they want to play around with different build ideas and theory crafting, experimentation that's super fun. And you also have people that just play it for, I don't even know, like they're just playing it to explore it and do whatever they want. They play solo, they don't care about the content. We have had various levels of PvE encounters that are difficult or challenging or engaging, like Deathstalker or Gluttony when they first came out, the Invasions when they first came out. But it seems like there's been a resistance to that as well. And you can maybe even make an argument that the dissension between ideas in the community is those different groups that exist, right? The people that care more about looking at their character and seeing the fidelity of the game may not want their dailies that they need to do to finish their character builds to be difficult, challenging, or otherwise have a lot of friction in them. And then there's kind of some separation there. Now, granted, in a looter shooter, you are very welcome to just do the content that you like. And I think that's what other looter shooters do really well. And it's what MMOs do really well as well. Like, there are people that play World of Warcraft and only do PvP. Like, they only do battlegrounds. They will begrudgingly level their character max because they have to. But once they get to max level, they only do arenas and battlegrounds, and that's it. They only do PvP. They ignore every other aspect of the game. And I almost feel like that is kind of where TFD is heading if it wants to try and keep all the different sub audiences that it has happy and engaged throughout that process, right? Like, give people the TFD lounge and the emotes in Albion and the ability to express themselves and more character stories and character development so they can get to know their favorite characters and enjoy their personality and expression. Give people the hard content, but don't make it required or compulsory, so that the people that want the challenge and they want to strive for better, they can, and they can enjoy that process, and find, different outlets in the game for there. And I think that's one thing that Warframe does well as well, is they have you know, hoverboards, and they have racing, and they have spaceships, and you can board a spaceship, and you can fly around in like a Gundam setup with your arc wings as you fly around in space and fight things and all that stuff. And there isn't really like a major direction. You don't have to do everything, but you can choose to do it. And I think that that is kind of where TFT probably needs to go. But let me know what you think about that down below and what your opinion is on the state of the game and this kind of rift that we're having between people that want different things out of the product as a whole. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.